for coming. Representative Cedrick Frazier, District 45A, which covers the cities of New Hope, Crystal, and the eastern part of Plymouth. So today I'll be presenting the frontline worker pay bill very shortly in committee here, but I wanted to kind of talk to you all about, kind of how we ended up here. It's going on 2 years in this pandemic, but early on we had a stay-at-home order where many of us we had the opportunity to work from home, telecommute, Zoom meetings, which we're becoming used to now, and as we've been going through this for 2 years. But there were a lot of us that had to go into work day in and day out. And because of those frontline workers, we were able to still buy the groceries that we needed. We were able to eat from the restaurants that we enjoyed. We were able to go to stores, and those stores were clean, and we were kept safe. And our lives were able to continue to move on. And our economy kept moving here in the state of Minnesota. It's because of those workers that we're in this position now where we've got this huge surplus that's unprecedented. And this bill that I'm working on and carrying will provide resources and recognition to those workers, to all of those frontline workers that put their lives on the line day in and day out to do the work, to help us stay safe, and to help us keep moving forward as a state. And they are very much deserving of it. It's been long overdue, and I'm looking forward to pushing forward with this and getting those workers the recognition that they deserve. I will say you all may be familiar with the fact that at the end of last session, we came up with a deal to develop a work group and distribute $250 million. And that was a good step going towards getting recognition to our workers. We had several meetings. Where we came to a stalemate at is because our GOP colleagues wanted to exclude hundreds of thousands of workers. And that is just something that I could not agree with. My other DFL colleagues could not agree with that. We wanted to name specific workers and say they were worthy. All of our frontline workers are worthy of the recognition of these resources. And therefore we should focus on all of those essential workers. The bill that I'm carrying now is different than, obviously it's asking for $1 billion so that those workers that we've identified as frontline workers will each get up to $1,500 in terms of a payment. It includes all of those workers that would have been excluded, that our GOP colleagues wanted to exclude. And so this bill is it's more expansive, but it's very, very inclusive in terms of all of our frontline workers. And that's why we're going to be discussing in committee today and hopefully moving forward and getting these resources to our frontline workers. With that, I will take any questions that you all have.
Great. Looks like Bill Warner is first on the list.
Thank you. And thanks, Representative, for taking the question. There's another bill that's up in that committee right after yours, I think, that talks about the Unemployment Insurance Trust Fund and the replenishment of that. You probably know that a $2.7 billion measure passed the Senate. I think I understand what you're doing here. You're trying to entice them to move forward on the frontline workers by offering the UI backfill. My question of you is, Representative, is there an appetite in the Minnesota House of Representatives or among your colleagues you've talked to go further toward what the Republicans in the Senate are suggesting of the $2.7 billion number for the UI? I know that's not your bill, but I know you know what's going on here and the dynamic of it. Thank you.
Thanks, Bill. Great question. I am aware of what's going on. I was following what's happened in the Senate earlier today. And yeah, I think there's an appetite to address the needs of our businesses. I think you saw in the last session, DF coming out of the House. I mean, we were very, 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 very conscious and thoughtful about how we address the needs of our businesses. We're not going to stop doing that. We understand what our small businesses and our corporations mean here in the state of Minnesota and how important they are to all Minnesotans. So we're absolutely have an appetite to address that. But what I will tell you is that what I'm hearing from workers is that they're feeling a little bit left out. And there's been a lot of conversation around the backfill for the UI. But without our workers, we don't have the surplus that we have. Without our workers, our employers don't have the workers that they need to keep their corporations and their organizations and their business moving forward. So we have to make sure that we can talk about business, but we have to make sure that we take care of the workers that fuel those businesses and make those businesses go and keep Minnesota moving in the right direction.
Hey, just a quick follow-up, Representative, if I may. And we know how the horse trading goes on here. Is your sense that your fellow House members would be willing to move up from that $1 billion number on the UI I'm talking about And is there any room to move downward from your billion on your frontline workers to try to get a compromise here with the Senate?
What I'd say to that, Bill, is that I think there's more conversation to be had. But what I'd say to that is, whatever we do, we have to make sure that we're honoring our workers. We cannot put the sole focus and take care of our business, which I believe we have taken care of our business throughout this pandemic. We will continue to focus on what they need, but our workers are vital to what we're doing here in Minnesota. Without our workers, without the work that they put in day and day out, putting themselves in harm's way, in their families in harm's way, we do not have the surplus that we have now. And we have to honor and recognize that.
Thanks, Representative.
Next question is from Peter Callahan, who asks, can you remind us of the total number of workers in the groups that are included in the payments?
Yeah, through the work that we've done with Department of Economic Development, with DEED, we believe we've identified that there would be about 667,000 eligible workers for the frontline pay.
Next question is from Caroline Cummings.
Hi. So, Representative Frazier, you mentioned the stalemate that's gone back and forth for a few months, and you guys have remained firm in your position that you need more workers included. But with that in mind, I mean, it seems like that stalemate continues, and I'm wondering, are you guys just planning to go ahead with your bill? At what point or is somebody going to give here? Because it seems like neither side has been willing to do that for months.
Well, I will remind you this: during those work groups, there were plenty of times that my GOP colleagues, in particular Senator Housley, said, "Look, we don't mind if you come back and ask for more money for more workers." Well, we're at that point, right? We didn't at that point we didn't know we're going to have over 7 billion surplus, but now we do have over 7 billion surplus. So we're back asking for an expansion of those resources because we have the money to make sure we can recognize those workers. So I'm looking forward to continue the conversation. And I think there should be movement because we're in a different place now than we were those months ago when we were in that stalemate. And this is a great place for us to make sure we honor all of our frontline workers.
Next question is from Brianna Bierschbach.
Hey, thanks. I'm just curious. I know at some point Speaker Hortman had said, you know, if we're going to do 2.7 billion for unemployment insurance, why don't we do $1 billion for frontline workers and 1.6 billion for paid family and medical leave? I know that's not part of the conversation in committee today. Should we be reading into that, or is that still going to be a priority of the House Democratic Caucus to try to get a deal on that and kind of tying in with Republicans' priority to push this unemployment insurance change?
Thank you for that question, Brianna. Yeah, I think that is absolutely, well, I know that is absolutely still one of our priorities. That's about workers. That's about families. Those type of earned leaves allows our workers to be able to take care of their families. It allows them to be able to protect their income if they need to take time off to take care of themselves. I mean, what we know is that as the workers that have been working through this pandemic, they've taken on incredible stress. Many of them continue to deal with that stress. We're seeing high attrition rates and burnout from our workers because of what they've gone through, continuously to work day in and day out during this pandemic. And those are the types of resources and those are the types of benefits that we need to make sure that our workers have so they can take care of themselves and take care of their families so they can continue to do the work that they do for all of us here in Minnesota. So absolutely know that will still be a part of the conversation because it is what Minnesotans want and it's what we should be able to provide for them.
Are there any more questions at this time?
I have
Just a quick logistical question, if I may. Representative Frazier, after the hearing in committee today, do you have a sense of when it might get to the floor? I mean, is there another stop it has to make before that could happen?
Yeah, Carolyn, thank you for that question. There are other stops that it has to make in other committees. I can't commit to a particular date it will be to the floor, but there are other stops along the way. We have to visit other committees before we get to the floor.
I had the same question, so thanks, Caroline.
Good
Well,
question.
one more on top of that, maybe. Is there plans for, I guess, in the meantime, before it gets to those other stops, a meeting that you might have offhand with your colleagues in the Senate that could, strike a deal behind the scenes and not wait for, you to send a bill over there?
I am, well, you all know how this works. I am always open to having conversations. If we could work together in a bipartisan way to get things done. So I'll just say I'm always open to those conversations. Right now, we'll see if that happens.
Any other questions at this time? All right, if there's no further questions, we'll wrap up. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.